Hi everybody, welcome back to Lockdown Lessons part 34. With me today I've got Brady Last from EY Breakthrough Incentives. So firstly I just wanted to say a big hello to you, Brady.
Hi, thanks for having me, Phil.
No problem at all, no problem at all. So for the people that are actually watching this right now that don't know who you are and what EY Breakthrough Incentives do, perhaps you could give us a little bit of information about that.
Yeah, sure. I'm Brady Last, I'm the MD. EY Breakthrough Incentives, or as we're quite sort of familiarly known, Breakthrough Team, provide R&D tax relief services to the SME sector primarily, and we also can signpost people for other kinds of funding.
Lovely, lovely. So just out of interest, how long have you actually run the business for, Brady?
Yeah, so I was one of the founding members of the team back in 2015. We set up the business in a conservatory. Sue Nelson was our CEO. And yeah, 5 years later, we went through an acquisition, which I think we're going to talk about a bit later. We've got 23 staff and we're based down in Ashford. We have a few remote workers now, but primarily most of our staff are based in Ashford, albeit remote working at the moment.
Lovely. And for the businesses out there, the business owners that don't quite understand what R&D tax credits actually are, perhaps you could give us a quick snapshot of how they actually help people.
Yeah, and there's so much misinformation still about R&D tax relief, and I think while it's definitely gaining popularity, people still don't realise that they qualify. I think for me, one of the main things to think about is if you're a company that's solving problems, or if you're doing something particularly new and different and exciting, you perhaps wouldn't want your competitors to know about it. These are all kind of indicative things that you could think could qualify for the scheme. You have to be a limited company, that's quite important, and you have to be kind of making a technical or scientific advance. But let us have that conversation with you and work that out for you, because it doesn't take long to be able to work that out. We've done so many now. We have very high success rates, and the amount of reports that we've written, we know what HMRC likes. It probably only takes us around 10 minutes in most circumstances to work out if you qualify.
Good. And just out of interest, because I always get the numbers wrong, I mean, you can go back 2 years, can't you? And in terms of the percentage of the investment in R&D that you've actually made, what percentage can you actually claw back from HMRC?
Yeah, so the percentage you can get back in cash can vary. But again, just to kind of recap on what the benefit of this scheme is, there is a cash benefit, but there's also a tax benefit as well. And for some companies, being able to wipe out their tax bill or reduce it significantly is just as important, perhaps, as getting that cash payment. So the benefit for most companies is probably around 25%. It can vary, as I say. In some circumstances, you can get up to 33% benefit. So it doesn't matter really how much you spent on R&D. It's what you spent on is more important. And this kind of going back the last 2 years, just to always, there's quite a lot of misinformation about this. It's not about the company, it's not about the country's tax years. It's to do with the company tax years. So what your year end is will determine how far you can go back and claim.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. I just thought I'd clear that up because I know there's a lot of misinformation about it and I wasn't 100% clear as well. So thank you for that, Brady. So if we could cast our mind back now to March the 23rd last year, long time ago, right? At what point did you think there might be an issue commercially here with what we seem to be going into?
Yeah, and I'm laughing about this now, Phil, but at the time I wasn't laughing, because actually at that point we were literally days away from the acquisition. So we were merrily in the office, all hands to the pump. We were all really working hard to make sure that everything was in place for the acquisition, which was going through on the 1st of April. And as a business that hadn't had any remote working before, suddenly I was extremely challenged, thinking I've got to overnight get 20 people working from home, bearing in mind at that point we had desktop computers, we didn't have laptops, so people were literally taking home their computer and seeing what works at home. At that time, I guess we printed a lot of information, so that kind of stopped overnight, and we had all work to be able to share all that information online really well. And then also on the 1st of April, everyone had to have new computers because we were part of the EY family. So we had to change that as well and do all of that at home. So I guess those couple of weeks are a bit of a blur looking back, but it was an absolutely fantastic experience, and something that really taught me quite a bit about myself and the resilience and flexibility, I think, of the team.
Good. Yeah, it must have been it was a shocking time for everybody, really. But yeah, going through an acquisition at that exact point in time must have been very, very difficult and very challenging for you.
Yeah.
So in terms of since then, if we could, cast our mind back to the last sort of 15 months or so, what wins have you actually had over that period of time, Brady?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I'm really delighted about is we've been able to recruit in this period and create a few new positions, which has been absolutely fantastic to be able to do that. I'm really proud of that and how well we've been able to integrate and train those people remotely. Something, again, I just never thought I would do, recruit people that I hadn't met in person, and for them to work so well and become so well integrated into the team, because we are a very close team. So for me, that's probably the biggest win. There's other things. I think the way that we've gone to remote working and been able to still provide the same service that we always have to our clients, I think that's been incredible, particularly as we've had to onboard quite a few new processes. Now we're part of a bigger organisation, so a lot of change, and yet largely our customer journey has remained unaffected, which yes, that I'm quite proud of that for the team.
Brilliant. It's interesting, actually. I've spoken to a lot of people that have said to me, yeah, I think we're going to wait until we get back face to face before we recruit, because recruiting is really difficult, and you need to have people that are self-starters, that are able to work by themselves and what have you. But yeah, I do speak to a few people like yourself that have managed to recruit, train and onboard people during lockdown, all over Zoom or any other face-to-face medium that we've got online, which is incredible, and it's good to know that it does actually work.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, the other thing, Phil, is my background's in recruitment. I don't know if we'd spoken about that before. So for me, I'm particularly passionate about recruitment. So having the challenge of being able to do that was, kind of a personal win for me as well. So
oh, yeah. Good. That certainly helps, definitely. So what sort of challenges have you had since lockdown started then, Brady?
Yeah, so again, thinking a bit about the acquisition and the remote working, I think for a team that was so, I always talk about elbows touching training, because literally I'd be like, all right, sit next to me and watch and let's learn together, and you can ask me questions. And that kind of style is really, really hard to translate, remotely. So being able to kind of create our training program, but also change our processes. And I think so much that small companies like us take for granted when you're in the same room. You just pick up things, don't you? You hear things and you think, oh yeah, ABC client, they've got this situation, and therefore everybody just knows, because it's very it organically kind of happens. And when you are all spread out, you have to put in a much more, I guess, robust process and checking processes in place, and everyone needs to be on board. So we're a very diligent team, very disciplined. Everyone does what they're supposed to do, really lucky that way. But we had to even step it up another gear. So that was probably, one of the things that we had to look at the most, I think.
Good. So actually, I was going to say, interestingly, I know one business owner that what they do to get around that, and it's a bit strange, I must admit, is having Zoom on permanently while they're working, and having the team there working as well, so you can actually ask questions as you would do as if you're in the office. Yeah, I'm not sure if that would work for everybody, but it was an interesting way of running things, actually. And yeah, I never thought of that, doing that.
No, and I think you have to try different things and involve the team in those decisions and say, we're going to try this, and see if it works. Because if it works and everyone likes it, then it doesn't matter how, strange it might be, if it's effective. One of the things for us that I used to always kind of proudly say, I think, is that we had an interruptible culture. So if you were sat at your desk and you're typing, if you're on a phone call, so you don't interrupt you, but otherwise we absolutely used to say, can I grab you for a minute? And that kind of can I grab you for a minute culture was lost overnight. So for us, one of the things I guess I struggle with, which you might be asking me later, is around that whole scheduling meetings, like the quick 5 minutes, seems to, I'll look for your diary and I'll see you a week on Tuesday. It's just, I found that really hard. And I kind of try and reiterate to my team that my door's always open, because so that I can, in 2 minutes we could sort something out rather than wait, a week to talk about it when there's a free slot in my diary.
Yeah, I think that sort of ad hoc way of working has unfortunately had to sort of take a back seat for a while.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think things will change. So when we go back to 100% back to normal, when everything is open and we're allowed to do what the hell we like, are there any things that you've learned during lockdown that you're going to say, well, actually, there's part of what we're doing right now and we have been doing for the last 15 months that we're going to carry on with?
I keep going back to remote working, but I think that's probably a big thing for anyone. I personally think there'll be some kind of legislation or at least some kind of guidelines, best practice around, remote working policies and flexible working anyway. So I think there's an element of that we'll have to incorporate, and how that will work and how that will look is something which you're going to have to spend quite some time to make sure that it's right for everybody. There's some other things which I just think are really simple, like dress code. I know that sounds like a really simple thing, but I look back and I think, yes, if we have clients in the office or a certain type of client that we're dealing with on Zoom, but actually my staff have worked amazingly, and probably there's been times they've been in their pajama bottoms, and does it matter? The same fantastic work has come out. So I think there's some things like that we can relax on, definitely. I think some of the things I was talking about the processes and the checking of the work that we do, and kind of those more robust processes will stay, because it just means that we are more confident and will produce better quality work as a result. So I think generally process is probably the main one. There's probably a few other things that probably things that you don't think about, as I say, like dress code. The other thing which we've always done in the office is we always give everyone a proper lunch break, eating away from their desk. So thinking about things that I'll keep and things that I'll change when people are back in the office, I will absolutely go back to the old way of we don't sit at our desk and eat, because you need a proper break. You need to get some fresh air. You need to have that time away from your desk to have a proper rest. And I think that probably people working from home, I have less, I was going to say control, which is not quite the word I want to use, but that kind of staff welfare points, that I've lost as a result of not being able to see people regularly. So that's just a few things I can think of at the moment.
That's a really good point, actually, because I think we're all guilty of just slipping into that. I've certainly been guilty of this, just working through and eating at the desk, and it's it's not healthy. Sometimes people are spending sort of 15 hours of their working day just sitting in a seat, whether it's at home on the sofa watching the television or whether it's at work, and it's just not good for health and well-being, is it really?
Absolutely not. And that there's little bits of social interaction, hopefully with each other. We're really lucky here to have a staff room where people can sit and eat lunch, but also people chat then and form relationships. And I think thinking about things that you miss, for me, I absolutely miss seeing the team, because they're such a great bunch and they're all people that I like, and I want to talk to them, and I like them telling me what they've been up to the weekend and things. And I think that's something with remote working that's harder to maintain and continue.
That's a really good point, actually, that last one. I like that. So, okay then. So obviously in a few weeks' time, we're going to be able to do whatever we want. There's been no restrictions. What's the first thing you're going to do when you're allowed to do whatever you want?
Well, it's a good question, because when I was thinking about this question, and while I'm a really social person, there are definite things that I've absolutely loved about lockdown. I'm one of those lucky people that really love my family. So, you know, I really like spending time with my kids, and, you know, my husband. So we've had, you know, a really nice time. We live in a nice part of the world, really fortunate to be able to walk out of our front door and find some countryside quite quickly. So I think actually what I choose to do when I'm, you know, fully free will be a lot more considered. I don't think I'll say yes to everything like I used to, and I think that quality time is what I'm after. For me, I'm not much of a kind of long haul traveller, but I do absolutely love travelling the UK. I've got family again in lovely parts of the UK. I've really missed. We have regular trips to Norfolk and to Wales. And I've not been able to do that. So I guess that's top of my list, is packing the car up and being able to have that time. But it will be with my family, you know. So I'm definitely, you know, I'm really looking forward to that. However, of course, I can't wait to see a few of the girls and have a cocktail. So that'll be on the list too.
This stuff sounds like you've got some great plans, right? So usually when we wrap up these interviews, what we do is the next question for me to ask you is really who's your sort of ideal customer, who might be watching this right now, and who would you like to speak to?
So if you're a company who's doing something new and different, you're solving problems, and you're a limited company, then I'd like to speak to you. I probably only need 10 minutes of your time to initially work out if it's worth us having a longer conversation to see if you're eligible for the scheme. So I just really welcome anyone getting in touch.
Lovely, thank you very much. And so they can get in contact with you, I'll put the notes down in the comments below on LinkedIn and on YouTube as well. But I just wondered, what's the best way of reaching the business or reaching you, Brady?
Two ways: either link in with me, that might be the easiest way because you'll see my profile on LinkedIn and Brady Last Davis, and my email address is brady.last@uk.ey.com.
No problem at all, and I'll spell that out in the comments below. But for now, thanks so much, Brady. Pleasure speaking to you as always, and yeah, catch up soon.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.